This is the KoperCrabb Podcast.
I'm Cheney Crab.
I am Naveen Copperwise, coming at you.
If you would like to buy merch from our band, ENTHEOS, go to www.entheosstore.com. If you would like to submit questions for the podcast, then you can join our Discord, which we will link in the description, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube, or you can email us at KoperCrabbPodcast@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call. I don't know the number off the top of my head, of course.
Number in the
number is in the description as well. So just call there.
615 something.
We had to change it because we
had to change it because we had a harassment caller.
We had too many
harassments. He wouldn't stop harassing us.
Yeah.
So
which actually makes me wonder about caller, our anonymous caller who used to call in on. Would call in on
what
Twitch
happened to
all
caller?
The time.
Our only caller that's ever called in.
Caller, where are you? Our only live caller.
That's true. Yeah. I actually liked when people called in and left a voicemail.
Me too.
And I feel like once we made a Discord,
that
pretty much just like put a bullet in the head of the message.
It was really once we made a Twitch.
Yeah.
Because now people can get on Twitch with us on Tuesdays, which tonight we are not live on Twitch. This podcast is not live. But usually we're live on Twitch every Tuesday at 7 or 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We always post about it in our Twitch, but it's between those two times.
We post about it in the Discord.
We post about it in our Discord. God, I can't keep all of these social media platforms straight.
Yeah, I know.
It's ridiculous. It's redonkulous.
Also, is Discord and Twitch social media?
I don't know.
Something else.
Private.
Yeah.
Stuff. I have no idea what
but
it is.
I kind of am encouraged by Discord in a way because you go on there and you can't really get lost in it. You have to know where you're going.
It reminds me of back in the day being on what were those called?
Message boards?
Message boards.
Yeah.
I was on message boards back in the day and I loved that because it wasn't completely real time. Sometimes you would have to wait 10 hours for someone to reply to what you were saying, and it was very organized.
Yeah.
And it was just thread by thread. So it was really simple. Yeah. It was a simple layout.
So maybe if people
But Discord is that. Discord is a message board.
Maybe people could give me some recs of Discords to join.
Who remembers 7string.org?
Yeah, that was a big one.
And everyone found out about Bulb and Misha and Periphery and 8-string guitars through that.
I never went on there.
Me either. I've never been on 7string.org once in my life.
I remember the name though, obviously.
I remember everyone talking about it. It took the world by storm along with Djent. Way back in the day.
It was really big when I joined Animals.
What was all of that music called before Djent?
I think it was just called Meshuggah.
Yeah, it's just Meshuggah riffs.
The Djent before the Djent.
The Djent before the Djent.
There's
some classic records in that space, though. I guess I don't. Periphery, they're the Djent band, right?
Yeah.
That first, Periphery.
Awesome.
Periphery changed
amazing.
the metal world.
Yeah, changed the world.
That style of metal is still in metalcore, in some deathcore. You see it everywhere. It's crazy. That they Meshuggah made it. Oh, he's so. Oh my God.
Sorry for listeners only. We have a kitten now, a new kitten. He's getting bigger.
He's getting bigger.
But last week he was hanging out on camera. Now he's moved out of his bed and he's just lounged on the table. Maybe it's cooler. Maybe it feels good.
Yeah, you guys need to go to our YouTube and check this out. But like I was saying, don't you feel
sorry about that.
Like Meshuggah made the sound, but Periphery popularized that
absolutely.
sound. There's no denying that.
They
crazy.
Completely had their own take on it.
There's BP and there's AP. Before Periphery and after Periphery.
I agree. And I think now I don't hear about that kind of music as much because I feel like there's now enough people to where that exists in its own place.
Absolutely.
Whereas at first it was all mixed together in the metal scene, but metal has got so big that there's these really big sub genres.
I mean, that,
right?
yeah, that exists all across the board, right? There's deathcore, metalcore, slam, OSDM.
Totally.
Djent is still a thing.
Where like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was really just metal bands would play together.
Right. Black metal, groove metal. I mean, Jesus Christ. Prog, tech death. Mm-hmm. There are a million scenes within metal. That is what is so cool about metal, and people who don't listen to metal probably have no idea. Avant-garde metal.
Yeah,
you know, there's...
You mean like random Instagram commenters?
Random people probably have no... There's this whole world to metal. Like, every genre exists in its own way under the metal category.
Yeah.
There's rap metal. There's everything.
Yeah. And then there's probably genres that I'm not aware of.
True. Like baddiecore, which I just found out about because of the Nick Nocturnal Awards, which Naveen and I are both nominated this year on Nick Nocturnal's awards.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Good job. Good job us. But no, that's so cool. Naveen is nominated for Drummer of the Year, and I'm nominated for Vocalist of the Year. So if you feel so inclined, go and vote for us. We will for sure.
Link in description.
Yeah. Link in description.
Oh, God.
But that's super cool. And a lot of good stuff came out this year. But yeah, I found out about baddiecore through that.
What is that?
Apparently, it's a new term for music.
Right. I figured that much.
I think it's like the kind of music that like hot girls on TikTok or hot people on TikTok period just like dance to, and like, you know, it's kind of like a sexy baddiecore.
All right. I'd have to hear it too.
I mean, maybe I'm not describing it right, but someone tell us what baddiecore is.
Yeah, I know. We're like boomers, totally out of the loop on all this stuff.
No, but
I mean, admittedly, I didn't know what I can remember being on tour with Mike Torres, our old sound guy, and he was talking about slam. And I'm like, what is that?
Oh,
he's
really?
He's like, dude, it's just like, it just slams.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then when I heard it, I'm like, okay, that's what we used to call brutal death metal.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it weird how when did technical death metal become technical death metal? Because it was not always called that. Yeah. Like Origin would fall under that category, but when I heard Origin the first time, there wasn't such a thing as technical. There was just death metal. It was just death metal.
And you had Origin, Necrophagist, whatever, Dying Fetus, Cannibal Corpse. They were all the same genre.
Yeah, I mean, even the...
But you'd be like, this one is they're like a little older sounding, or this one is a little more modern, or this one has more solos.
Or, for instance, when the Djent thing came out, it was more the bands who signed to Sumerian. So it was like Sumerian had that genre. It wasn't called Djent. It was like all of these type of bands are kind of signing to Sumerian right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was also a big change in metal.
Such a huge change.
When they had like Faceless and Veil of Maya and those earlier bands.
Sumerian like changed the game.
And also Harp Machine.
The Harp Machine.
I felt like was a different, like a step in that really ultra modern progressive metal.
Totally.
Or death metal, I guess. Because it was still death metal influenced. When I heard it, I still was thinking, I would still think like I'm listening to death metal.
Oh, me too.
You know, even when I heard Veil of Maya or Heart Machine.
All of those bands, Born of Osiris.
Because they had blast beats. And, yeah.
They were all just death metal.
I was like, oh, well, this is like death metal, but like in a cool, young
even after
way.
the Burial. And I feel like After the Burial maybe has become the most like purely groove out of those type of bands. Yeah. I would have considered them to be like death metal adjacent back in the day, or just like heavier. There wasn't really a name for it. And I honestly feel like ever since the rise of the internet and not really Spotify MySpace, too. But Spotify and all these things, like I feel like genres are way more of a thing than they used to be. Yeah. Those subcategories. I know that they are new, but we weren't really talking about bands in such specific terms back then. It was like metal. I listened to metal. Yeah. And
then you could be like, well, I like death metal. And then like for me, that would be anywhere from Cephalic Carnage to Cannibal Corpse or and these bands are way different.
Well, it was like you're into. For me, it was kind of like you're into like scene was a thing. So it's like you're into like scene stuff, or you're into like cheesier stuff, or you're into like crazier stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heavier stuff.
Yeah. There was kind of like
more
scene
serious,
and then non-scene.
Exactly.
That was kind of the two big differentiating factors.
So which of those two were you into?
Well, I was scene 100%. Dude. No, I was not. I was
I feel like I was not
very death metal, very too cool for school when I was younger.
Yeah, I was kind of death metal, but I did like certain bands that were sort of scene, but I was more into I wasn't a scene. I didn't have like a
Yeah. You know what though? What was funny is when Animosity we would play like really underground death metal shows, and then sometimes we would jump over to the more like scene shows, and those were like so much better.
Yeah.
And there was like tons of people there, young people were there.
Don't you feel like that's kind of the case now? Some tours are more like death metal, more like underground death metal, and some shows are more like way more mainstream, like kids and families and people who listen to the radio and stuff will be there who aren't quite as dialed in to stuff
now
is different.
I would say
or if you go to when I go to hardcore shows now, that's when I feel like I'm like that reminds me of like the scene.
Yeah, totally. But now I feel like I will say that now every show has a lot of people there.
Totally.
Or has the potential to do a lot of people.
I mean,
so it's not like, back in the day when you play some random show and the town has a good scene and you're like, whoa, this show's crazy. Now I think every genre has the potential to have these big shows.
Oh, totally. The internet, man.
Yeah.
The internet has done wonders for underground music.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's wildly different now. Wildly different.
So different. It's crazy how much change we've seen. You've seen more change than me because you're a little older. And it'll be insane to witness how this whole thing continues to grow for the rest of our lives because it's ever changing. Metal is a fairly new genre. I mean, we're only about 4 decades into this kind of metal. It's always changing, always evolving. And what's cool is that I feel like, especially now, there are bands coming out that sound like bands from the past, but there are also bands coming out that sound like bands from the future.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good quote right there.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm happy to still be a part of it.
Me too.
I gotta say.
It's that thing when you're a kid, people kind of think it's a phase that you're going through. And for some people, it definitely is a phase.
Yeah.
But for me and for you.
It's funny. For me, it's been the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I've been into metal the longest, but I've had phases of non-metal.
Interesting. Yeah. I had a little phase of not metal.
Yeah. So metal is like the actual like foundation for me.
At this point in my life, I don't I remember it after that phase of non-metal. I feel like we kind of both went through it at the same time. We were listening to more like party electronic music
indie,
and stuff,
electronic weird stuff,
which I still listen to all of that stuff.
I love that stuff,
but I don't 100%. Take break. Like I know the records that are coming out in metal, and I don't take breaks from listening to metal now. I'm not at all detached from the scene.
Right. And I'll go like a year without listening to like drum and bass.
Oh, totally.
Or maybe longer.
Yeah. And now there was a point when we were going to those kind of shows a lot, but now it's like we go to metal shows constantly.
Yeah. Which we're actually finding out about more shows like that, and we will be there.
Totally.
See you there.
We will be there in Nashville.
If you're in the Nashville area, catch me and Cheney at shows, hanging out.
We love going to shows, man. And I love supporting the Nashville scene. There's something so cool about this scene here, and I feel like it's getting even bigger because so many people are moving here. There just is this sense of camaraderie in this scene. One of our friends, Kayla Pugh, Malcolm's wife, promotes shows here. So it's like cool. We're all Malcolm from Inferi. So like we're all kind of entwined and intertwined in this cool.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here, man. If you guys want to move here, we got a good real estate agent for
We'll hook you up. But speaking of, I mean, there was a tornado here over the weekend.
Something to consider.
There are tornadoes.
Occasional tornadoes. But there was actually one right before we moved here.
There was.
And now I'm thinking, I didn't take it as serious then because I didn't live here. I didn't know the severity of it.
That's actually.
Now I'm thinking back. Remember, right before the week before we moved here, there was a huge tornado.
I totally remember because we went to. So we had a 2-night period where your dad had a work party, and we went to his work Christmas party, and then the next night, your whole family, your dad had rented like one of those RVs that people will take on tour. And the next night, everyone drove down to our house in Santa Cruz and we had our going away party. And so I think it was actually the night of the Christmas party, the actual storm happened. And the next day, Evan called you and he was like, I had to go check on your house today because I was afraid that something happened to it in this tornado. And neither of us took it that seriously.
No.
But
it's like, oh, cool. Dang.
Yeah, it's like, oh, a storm?
No, but so on Friday, it was Friday, right?
Saturday.
Okay, Saturday we had a literal twister, like from the movie Twister.
Yeah, like touchdown.
Completely off the hook.
Yeah.
People died.
6 people died.
Yeah. This is serious.
3 people died very close to some friends of ours. Like, I don't want to, tell people where everyone lives, but a couple of friends of ours were in Madison where I feel like it hit the hardest in Madison. It did hit really hard in Hendersonville, but in Madison, it apparently it was heading towards their backyard and it just turned, and 2 blocks away from them, there was just mass destruction and 3 people were killed because a man in his mobile home, I believe, like it got flipped onto a house and killed 2 people, and it killed all 3 of them, which is
crazy.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
so crazy.
So basically on Saturday, I was working on some stuff in my studio, and Cheney comes in like, dude, there's a freaking tornado about to hit right now. We need to get to cover.
Yeah. And I honestly was so freaked out because I grew up, in Des Moines, there are tornadoes. In Iowa, there are tornadoes. Luckily, my entire life, they never touched down in the city of Des Moines, which is where I'm from. But we would have to, take cover, go into basements. There were tornado warnings. But so I saw, what was crazy is I'll call it my office. It's where I send merch from. It is my office, essentially. So it faces... I have a huge window looking out the front of our house, and I saw a ton of lightning, more lightning than I've ever seen at once. And I was just like, that looks crazy. The clouds are coming in, speeding in. And all of a sudden I had friends hitting me up like, you guys need to get to cover. There is a tornado in your area. Do you know about this?
Hit our area worse than. I don't think it really hit Nashville.
It didn't really hit Nashville. Yeah. It hit Madison, and then it came to where we live. And so on the news, the tornado, they'll have a map where it's drawn out where the path of the tornado is, and literally where we live was directly in the path of the tornado. So I was freaking the fuck out because I know what a tornado on the ground means and what it can do. And I think that maybe you didn't, Naveen has never been in a tornado in his life. So
I thought it was something in the movies, like in Twister.
Yeah. So I don't think that you realized how severe it could be. And then I was grabbing our cats.
We had, one of our cats was outside. Yeah. I was trying to find her.
Yeah.
I couldn't find her.
What a dumb cat. But I would imagine that a cat would know where to.
Yeah. I think she went under the shed.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. So we went into our studio because there are two walls. We don't have a basement in our house, and there are 2, the studio has a wall built within the wall. Yeah. So we took our cats to our studio. We grabbed mattresses so that we could cover ourselves with them. And I was freaking out. I was so scared, knew that it was there, had people texting me, and our power went out.
Yeah,
our power like flickered and then went out. And our phone service is not very good in our house when we don't have Wi-Fi.
It seemed like it got like way worse during the tornado though.
It does.
Yeah.
It seems like it got worse. But it's not very good during a tornado or during...
I had my flip phone and that thing came in handy. I grabbed my flip phone and it actually has an FM radio built into it.
That's true.
So I was scanning the channels and listening on an earpiece, and then I found a channel where they were giving you like the play-by-play.
Mm-hmm. And
it's coming over this street. It's going over this, area. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I was just... So no one could really get through on texts, and I had been talking to Kayla. Speaking of Kayla, she was messaging me like stuff from the news, showing me where the tornado was moving to, and she couldn't get a hold of me. So all that I could do is get calls. So luckily our friend Ben Tolles was like called me from because he kind of knew what was going on through Spencer from who's the drummer of Inferi's mom.
Yeah.
So I got Ben to get Spencer's mom to call me to like talk me through this, to let me know what was going on, because we only had, I didn't know at this moment that we had the AM radio, that you were getting it ready. I only knew that we didn't know what the hell was going on. And everything around us was so calm. I can't stress how calm it was during that storm. It was
weirdly calm out there.
Yeah. Which is, they say that if it's calm around you, that's when you should be actually really scared, because you're close to the eye of the tornado.
Yeah, but so some takeaways for me were have a physical map.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had the physical map, I could have been listening to the radio and seeing all the street names that she was naming off. I don't know them all by heart.
The news, the person on the radio.
Right. So that was something that I thought of. And then our power went out, and we had no power for Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And
until
that's
this
a whole
morning.
other thing. So we were living in 1823.
Get a generator.
Yeah,
if you're going to
man.
move to Tennessee, get a goddamn generator, because we went outside last night when we were cold and only had a few lights, and we were living like it was 1823. And all that we could hear were the buzzes of generators all around us.
Everyone else knows what's up except for us.
We were just like, man, we are so green to Tennessee. Like we have no idea.
Yeah, but we did. So we did. I did have some firewood.
Yes.
And so we made a fire in our fireplace, but it got real smoky. It's kind of mesquite.
Gizmo still smells like the smoke, the mesquite smoke from the.
So a thing that I want to do is get a wood stove.
Mm-hmm.
And then the power goes out, dude, freaking make a fire in the wood stove, and boom, the whole house would be warm.
Yeah. Wood stove and a generator, and then also a hot tub, and then let's use the generator to power the hot tub, and we'll just be in there.
But yeah, so I mean, luckily the Walmart in the town next to us was open, and we went over there and got food and candles.
Okay, but that's a whole... We didn't even talk about where the tornado hit, which it hit really close to us.
Yeah, it did.
So it hit like the main road of the town that we live in, and
hit some restaurants that we really like. So
our entire town was like pandemonium, and the traffic was insane, and the power was out everywhere. Like we're one of the main places that lost power. And so just getting out of the town that we live in order to get to the Walmart was a huge process.
There was tons of people out. It was it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Streets were closed. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then that was at night. And when we went back through during the day, so we woke up, we didn't have power. So I was like, all right, let's grab as many power batteries and banks and grab everything that we have, because we do have a lot of that kind of stuff.
Luckily, because of touring and because of power tools. Right.
So we have a bunch of batteries, power tool batteries with like a little USB thing that you can put on top. So I'm like, let's go charge those up. Let's go charge our flashlights, charge our phones at a Starbucks. And so while we're driving over to the Starbucks, we're seeing all this damage, and we have a storage unit. The storage unit was like, our storage unit is okay, but the whole place was like ripped apart. And
it's like
a couple of the restaurants that we go to, the windows are all blown out. And then one restaurant with like half the building got torn apart.
I mean, if you have never been in a tornado, it's kind of like the hand of God has come down from the sky and just like drags a knife through everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like everything is just like tossed and
the hand of Zeus
cut open. And yeah, it's really, really crazy to freaky, witness, man. Especially for us, because we were so close to where it touched down. We didn't even feel a rumble. We saw nothing except for the sky acting up. And witnessing that sky was just like, it's so crazy that you can see just a blue sky. Like today, the sky was perfectly clear and blue. And I'm like, it's just so insane that this beautiful sky can turn on you in a matter of minutes, because it wasn't even really storming before.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't.
The eerie thing, though, was that it was really warm for a winter day.
It was warm.
And that's when it happens. It's when a cold front and a hot front hit each other. And it just creates this like crazy monster of Mother Nature. And that's the thing. No matter what you do in this life, no matter what you achieve, no matter what you work for, Mother Nature can come down and just like rip you
a new one.
Yeah. It's insane.
So we're really fortunate that nothing happened to us personally. And
and
a lot of the businesses here were cool. They like opened up, they gave out free food. You know, I feel like everybody came together, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's been one of the coolest parts to witness, is that when something like this happens, everyone kind of bands together to help out people who are in need. And it's cool to be involved in a community.
Yeah.
Because of that. And Naveen.
So a funny part was this Saturday and Sunday, I was really counting on practicing for this event that I have.
Which talk about the event.
Yeah. So the event is there's Evans Drumheads is now partnered up with this company called Sun House, and they make this sensory percussion thing. And basically I posted it on my Instagram. It's really cool. You can trigger all sorts of whatever you want. You can make all these samplers. It's kind of like it's the mix between Ableton Live and a trigger module, and you can just do anything you could think of, really. And so I'm lucky enough to be asked I'm going to play a showcase for that thing in Brooklyn, and that'll be on Wednesday the 13th,
which is the day that this podcast comes out.
Yep. So if you live in Brooklyn tonight, it's a free show. It's at a place called Baby's All Right in Brooklyn. And I'm really excited to do it. I put together they kind of wanted someone to showcase what you could do from like a metal standpoint. So I made like it's like about 20 minutes metal set, and it's all live. So I'm like triggering all the guitar parts. There's no backing tracks. There's no loops. None of that. It's all sample based on the drum set, and it's really crazy.
Yeah, it's really
But cool. It's 100% electronic. So I needed to practice for that on Saturday and Sunday to kind of finish up my set, and then we didn't have power. So on Saturday, I just said, screw it. I kind of just worked on it on my computer without the drum set. And then Sunday, I was thinking, well, I just pulled the van up to our house and used our power inverter. I ran a 50-foot cable into my studio and just plugged my rig up to that, and it worked. And so
Which is totally ingenious.
Yeah, I got some practicing done.
And while you were doing that, I went out to the van because we had no heat. So I was in the van in the heat, and I was practicing our set for these Lorna Shore Christmas shows a cappella. Which is, if you're a vocalist, here's just a tip. Something that works for me is that I practice all of our stuff a cappella like a million times before I guess this isn't a cappella. It's like without a mic. That's not a cappella.
Yeah.
I do it a cappella as well, though. I do it all by memory without music, without a mic. Because when I get up to a microphone and I hear myself like perfectly and sounding all lovely and reverbed and compressed and delayed, and
it's that much better.
It sounds so much better, and it helps improve my timing a lot. I don't know if it would work for everyone. I don't know if everyone, I feel like I don't know, my timing is pretty good when I'm not like on a click track. So it just makes it that much better when I get to a click so try it. If you're a vocalist out there, it works for me.
Try it.
But that's what I was doing while Naveen was practicing. I was just out in the van screaming, being warm.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, we are playing those Lorna Shore shows next week. The band gets here on Friday, which is crazy.
Yeah, I go to New York to do this show, and then
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
So that's why we're not doing a Twitch this week.
Right. And then I actually get in on the same day as the band.
Yes, Naveen gets in on the same day as the band, and the Lorna Shore shows. Pretty much, I think at this point, if you have not bought a ticket, you are SOL, my friend. I'm sorry about that. So you're missing out on pretty much the event of the year in Worcester and Long Island and Sayreville. But we are playing Worcester on December 20th, Long Island on the 21st, and Sayreville, New Jersey on the 22nd. Doors are at 5 every night. We play promptly at 6 o'clock. So if you're coming to see us, be there at 5:55.
We'll be there earlier than that.
Be there earlier than that so you can get a beer, get a water, a spot,
a
pretzel. I'll wave at you.
A veggie dog.
I'll blow you a kiss. And then a veggie dog. That would be wonderful.
I don't know if they
Maybe a Snickers bar, a high five, whatever. And also we have we'll play our set. We'll probably go get ready a little bit, and then we will go out to merch and come and hang out with you guys all night. We want to see all of you. Say hey if you're at the shows. Say hi to our merch guy, Ryan, who has an awesome podcast called Meet Podcast that documents all of Roadrunner's releases.
It's really cool. That's actually how I met him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told this story on the podcast, but I was listening. So I went on like an Earth Crisis historian mode when we were on our last tour, and I listened to pretty much all the podcasts I could find about Earth Crisis, and they have an album on Roadrunner. And so I listened to his podcast about that album. And then I was driving really late at night, and I pulled over, and I was like, I'm gonna look at my messages. And what do you know? I had a message from the guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, after you followed him?
No, I didn't follow. I didn't know anything about him.
You had a message from him.
Dude, I told you this. Isn't this crazy?
Wait, just randomly?
Randomly. Dude, it was so crazy.
How did that happen?
Look, I was listening, and I was like, okay, Meet Podcast. I'll listen to it. Because they're doing one about Breed the Killers.
Yeah.
So I listened to the documentary about Breed the Killers. And then I literally pulled over, checked my Instagram messages, had a message from him.
That is so
And I was like, it was like bizarro world.
I don't think this has occurred to me that that's what happened.
That's what happened.
I thought that you added him or that you followed him and then he was like, yo, dude, what's up? That's so weird.
He had messaged me a few days before, and he was like, I was wearing an Undying shirt, and then he was like, are you vegan? Because I feel like anybody who likes Undying is vegan. And I was like, yeah, pretty much, whatever. And then he was like, oh, I'll bring you some donuts.
Those are
and so he
really
brought those bomb donuts
They're
to the show.
so good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we get some more bomb vegan food out of hanging around with Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the spots.
I'm sure he knows the spots.
We now talk about it all the time on text message.
And he's awesome. Go and say hi to him at the shows if you're there. He's going to be slinging merch for us on these runs. So, and of course, Harrison, who's not here today, will be there. He's going to do our lights.
Yeah,
so,
actually, why isn't Harrison here?
I think it's just, I don't know if he's home. I don't think he's home.
Oh, yeah, no, he got home last night.
Oh, damn. We didn't love you, Harrison.
We kind of just did this one.
This was kind of a spur of the moment.
It's a little bit of spur of the moment. Because I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. We got to do a freaking podcast.
Right. So we wanted to get on here real quick, talk to you guys about everything that's been going on. I doubt that we will have a podcast next week just because, the band gets here Friday.
Going to be traveling.
we have to leave on Monday morning. We have to drive, 15 hours or something to get to these shows. So please, like I said, come and say hi to us. We would love to see you guys. These shows are.
It's always really cool on tour when people come up and they're like, "Hey, I'm a Golden Lobster."
Yeah, just mention it. Mention GL for life. We'll give you some stickers or some patch or something. You'll get something very small.
Something very, very small and
very
cheap for us to give
and
away.
Cheap.
Yeah. Free for you though.
Free for you. It's a free sticker for you. But yeah, so we'll come back. I think. What's the date of the following? I think it's the day after Christmas that we're going to come back. I'm looking at my calendar on my computer really quick.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a Christmas episode because...
So it's the day after Christmas, which is actually Kwanzaa.
Cheney and I are actually anti-Christmas now.
We're not anti-Christmas, but we've not decorated this year because we know we're going to be gone. And we're also...
Zero Christmas stuff.
And we're also getting back on late Christmas Eve and the band leaves on Christmas Day. So we're thinking just like an Indian feast.
Yeah, so the first time when we moved here 2 years ago, we arrived on the 23rd. Mm-hmm. And then our house was like in boxes and stuff.
Oh, dude.
And so...
The house was drastically different.
So you know what we were thinking? We were thinking, let's go eat Chinese food on Christmas. That's what we did. We drove into Nashville, and then right next door to the Chinese food spot was an Indian place. And I'm like, well, let's go to the Indian place.
Yep.
And so we went in there. There was a ton of people in there.
There were.
And it was really fun. And we're thinking about doing it again.
Yeah, we're going to do that tradition when we don't go and see our family.
Yeah. So that's the tradition. That's the tradition.
We'll probably do something else that's like kind of festive. I would like to go on that walk. There's a Christmas walk in Nashville.
Yeah. Right. We should do that.
Yeah. But
maybe a candy cane martini.
I'll probably be drinking a couple of candy cane martinis at these Lorna Shore shows.
Naughty or nice? You decide.
A little bit of both. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up for the week. Naveen's got to go. He's got to pack.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot going on right now.
We hope that all of you have a fantastic holiday, whether you're with family and friends or not with whoever. If you're not with anyone, you're with us. Just go back and listen to all the podcasts. Listen to all of our Christmas specials.
We're always there for you.
We're always there, man. We love you guys so much. Hope you have a great couple of weeks. We will see you on the 26th. Much love, everyone.
Peace.
Peace out.